I've dedicated my whole life to be sitting here in front of you today, like no one else you've ever met before in your life. I can promise you that. I've left my mark on earth, and there's no one else on earth like me. That's recorded by the biggest think tank in the world, mental health research and DNA evidence, and miracles in hospital as well. There is nobody else on earth like me. I sat down in 2016 with 6 top scholars, 2 people from the biggest think tank in the world, 2 top professors and scientists, and 2 top biologists for a 6-hour meeting. For a 6-hour meeting. I can tell you, it took my breath away. It took my breath away. I was number 1 in the Star Chamber inquiry when 105 people were arrested across Australia, when the Federal Police and the National Crime Authority went to Parliament House to seek authority to unleash the biggest think tank in the world. You know, Pine Gap, the hub in Australia, is the headquarters for NSA, CIA, NSA, NCA, and ACC. Okay, so the headquarters of the hub, as Edward Snowden has expressed, is Pine Gap, Area 51, Australia. From that location, every phone, radio wave, satellite, and CCTV runs from one location. You can see that in the movie Arrival. They also have to check with Australia on all the radar systems with Tic Tac UFOs. Okay, that's the number 1 radar system in the world, and also the all-seeing eye of the World Wide Web. Satellites and CCTV and every single thing on a phone. NASA's watching every human being on Earth right now. You've heard that yourself. Okay, top scholars in the world on both sides of the fence are working together for the first time in human history. Okay, so I was filled in on this very, very deeply, that they're both working together, don't see eye to eye, but they're both very concerned about what's unfolding, okay, about what's really unfolding in DNA evidence worldwide. This is the most suppressed subject in the world, the least spoken about, but it also proves to you, right, this subject alone proves to you that the whole world is living in a massive global delusional state and in massive denial worldwide, controlled by stress, fear, paranoia, anxiety, and it's escalating out of control in delusional behavior. People are trapped so deep into themselves with their opinions and don't even know what's going on worldwide. They can't deal with it. They can't handle it. Most lie to themselves and lie to everybody else, living in a massive global delusional state. They cannot handle or deal with what's going on. We're going in a 6 mass extinction strip from the 6th sense for the 6th time. That's why everyone's stressed out worldwide. In 98.7% of the whole human population, their body cells in corrupt solution during the daytime and can only be at nighttime. They're all dying prematurely from stress-related diseases. Okay, getting younger all the time, declared by FDA and top scholars across the world. And everyone lives in denial about it. Every human being on earth lives in denial about this. They were called the species in denial in 2003 when they were told what was going to happen. Okay, and what you're seeing happening worldwide today is exactly what you were warned about. Look at the Bayern syndromes worldwide, escalating 7 times in the last 5 years alone, with peer reports from every single hospital in the world. Everyone's losing their magnetic pulse. That's what's causing mental disorders and DDFX, turbocharged rates with cancer, blood clots, myocarditis worldwide. It's called Molagolum's delusional parasitosis, which is the voltage reliability in your DNA. Voltage reliability is the aura in your DNA genetic repair kit, genetic memory, and it's all going in dormancy and amnesia worldwide with genetic defects. Today, as declared in America, 77% of their children is born with chronic diseases because their parents live in denial. declared 2003. The whole world is in denial about this. They have 600 to 6,000 defective genes in every single Western in the world. So they're all deformed with parasites in every single Western civilization in the world, and they live in complete denial about it. They can't handle the truth. They can't face it, nor can the scholars, nor can the science, nor can top scholars in the world and all the politicians. They can't deal with it. They literally cannot deal with the fact that the second chromosome has had an intervention in every single one of them. The scholars know that. There are 2 chromosomes in the second chromosome, 23 and 24. And the problem is 98.7% of the population is trapped in the 23rd chromosome, and the 24 is in dormancy. You can see in Sally study research. So they can't deal with the fact. They followed the wrong bloodline, warned in the Bible. And now they know that that's causing every mental disorders and defects in negative fields, because they all live in negativity inside their mind in a 5 sense world, in their consciousness, which is only a mental event, right? A mental process, an illusion, imagination. The whole world is living in mentality and have amnesia in their genetic memory and can't use their ancestry tools since 1960. Their 24th chromosome went dormant in 1920 because the Rockefellers designed you into the consciousness, right? And into the secret covenants. You consume all the wrong products and make 1,000 different unnatural selections on a daily basis. And you don't even know, because you can only use 7 to 10% of your brain in over 99%. And only less than 1% can only use up to 15% with brain deformity with high IQ, because 125 plus IQ is brain deformity. Look at the movie Limitless with the drug, right? He comes right out of his shell and uses 100% of his brain with a vortex of information with the universal language. Now, that's dimensional thinking, remote view, mental telepathy, ESP, telekinesis, levitation, spoon bending, clock winding, folding space and time to predict the future and prevent what's going to happen with deja vu in broad daylight. So you can see the light bulb right here, the picture that tells you 1,000 words cannot lie to you. An orb of light that turns into a porthole, and you go in a time where time stands still and light preserves into the past, into the future. When I was 5 years old, I told my mum about the worst moment in her life in 1945, World War II, 15 years before I was born. She couldn't deal with it. She called me a freak of nature and said I was dreaming when she was lying her teeth out and couldn't deal with it. So I had to put up with people like this my whole life, okay, with these abilities, because I could see the past and the future when I was 5 years old. And everybody's a liar. I went to school and got my head punched in every day for being a freak of nature for the same reason. Because every human being on earth is trapped inside their skull in mentality and cannot use their natural process with their natural selection life and natural order. And I can. I'm the last human being born on earth on the biggest study done that can use all my genetic process and doesn't have amnesia trapped in a reincarnation trap. So I know who I am. Unlike everybody else, they only know their date of birth and the time they've been here, and everything's been programmed into the mind. That's all they know. I don't have amnesia. I have a genetic memory that goes all the way back, right? Genetic memory, as proven with DNA studies done. I first told my mum about the worst moment in her life in 1945, World War II, with my genetic memory and many other things. I was called the freak of nature, yet I was never wrong about nothing I predicted in the future. At 24 years old, I was registered in 1984 as one of the biggest masterminds in the world when I stamped an Indian number in such a way the X-ray machine could not detect it, which means they put me on the RSVP list for research succeeded to perfection. So I was a perfectionist by 24 in 1984. I'm on the front page of the paper 99 who's King Vice, and 17 current affairs shows when I was 33 years old, right? As a mastermind loopholes of laws and a mastermind of manipulation, because I could unravel the system that you're designed into. I'm a mastermind of my own mind and can use 100% of my brain, and I know the whole system under the UN and NATO through the education system puts your body sense corruption, illusion when you go to school to be mentally seduced with voices in your mind ultimately designed for extinction from the tree of knowledge, because you live in your mind in a 5 sense world, in a 5D world with light power deceiving and demonic, because it's only a personality. The Christ consciousness, it's only a personality. Tell you whatever you want to hear in a comfort zone, like sounds heavenly. You think I'm wrong? Huh? We're not going to predict the future and you can't? You haven't got a clue what you're doing. See, you cannot predict the future. When you can't predict the future and use your natural selection life, you can't prevent what's going to happen either. Because they got you by the balls and designed you like this, and that's how they control the world. They're not trapped in their mind neither. Right? They're masterminds of their own mind. That's why Bill Gates at 24 became the richest man in the world over 48 hours in 1980, and couldn't read and write, had no education. What did he say on mainstream media worldwide when they said, Bill, we know you can't read and write and you haven't got an education. How did you think of all this? What did he say? I hire all the people that can. I hire all the people that can. When they said, Bill, how did you think of all this? You can't read, draw, and write, and you didn't finish college neither. You flunked. You were no good. So how did you develop all this? To become the richest man in the world overnight. And his answer was, I just hire the person that can. So when I live my life the same way, I know exactly who these species are. Because I'm designed to know that. And they know who I am. They know I'm number one, primordial being with God-like power. Superhuman abilities, supernatural power to do every single thing that Christ can and more. I brought someone back to life in 1992 on Beer Reports with CCTV. And I'm not kidding you. I harnessed the power when they were given 0% chance of living, and when they flatlined, the power was harnessed, and she lifted 8 inches off the bed in front of 7 doctors and nurses on CCTV, and they were in shock. But she came back to life, not once, not twice, but 3 times. When she was given 0% chance of living, I kept bringing her back to life until she lived to tell the story, and she wrote the most powerful poem in 2003, the one and only. Number 1 worldwide for 8 months. The same year we declared species in denial with delusional parasitosis, and it's now been reported worldwide that over 98% of people are riddled with parasites. Worldwide. Right? And everyone lives in denial about it. With unnatural selection, they don't even know what they eat and shove down their throat. And what they entertain by with radio waves and principality and power near that controls them, with mind control. They're under mind control and they don't believe in it. They've been under mind control for 100 years on reverse psychology with a placebo effect that's anti-clockwise in their DNA, and DNA doesn't lie. It proves that no one knows what they're talking about. A drug can prove to you in the movie Limitless that no one's got any clue what they're talking about, not even pastors, preachers, Christians, and any New Age with their grammar, with artificial intelligence and implementation set up by atheism, because they select the atheism tools themselves with the wrong barcode, with artificial intelligence, because that's possessed the whole world and it's an alien invasion. Pentagon's telling you it's a UAP, under UAP disclosure, we have an outside influence to control the reality. And Harari, the fourth industrial building architect, says it's AI, alien invasion, and we're going to take out the natural selection life and replace it with intelligent design. Christ is over. We're going to create our own gods. We have the divine power, creation, destruction. And then your filthy low-life governments are signing in with them. Yet 16,000 top scholars and Nobel Prize winners, right, hails the book Freedom by Jeremy Gibbs to be the Holy Grail of life. The Holy Grail of life with natural selection. Natural selection and DNA, we found the largest human being born on earth that can do every single thing that Christ can and more. And it's me on that DNA study that found in 2008 with the most powerful confirmation on earth, with the most powerful miracles, right, recorded in hospital with DNA studies to back it up. So when you talk about solid DNA evidence and solid evidence with biological evidence and scientific evidence, I'm number 1 worldwide with evidence. Not just all talk and bullshit. But here's the funny thing. How come the whole world's suppressing this? Because they are. Everyone's a credit thief and a liar about me. Every human being on earth is a credit thief and a filthy low-life liar without a care factor and got no faith in the aura and anti-clockwise. Couldn't care less. Couldn't care less. I was designed for this moment, and you were warned in the Bible that you won't not know who I am, but you'll know by the tools and the mark on earth I live here, and the book that unfolds with evidence. The testimony of drug we were born predicts the future and now has become solid evidence. And anyone who doesn't believe in it is mentally insane, and they don't, because they're idiots. 99% of Americans throw stones at you, never read the book, never done the research, never studied who I am. Don't know nothing about me. Just come to their conclusion with a voice of mine that tells them to do that immediately. That's how dumb everyone is on social media platform, because they live in a 5 cents world. They come to their conclusion in 10 seconds flat. They think they know everything about you in a 2-second video, because they're dumb. Dumb as dumb can be. They know nothing about my real life. Yet I'm the most powerful godfather in the world's ever seen. Brought down the highest debt to American can and bonds and Mets bonds in 30 years in Australia. And 40 cops commends me on the affidavits and retire the police force. Chief Judge of Juries in Australia in 2010, in every university in Australia declares, my case is the most corrupt case in Australian history. From the start, Jamie Corey was #1 most wanted. In the biggest DNA study ever done, that caused the Royal Commission paying out for 23 years, the stolen bacteria Apollo being paid out $250 billion today, and the biggest research ever done in mental health research and DNA, when I made the most powerful truth serum in the world on every testing center that proves you're under mind control. And you can see that drug in the movie Limitless, but it's all propaganda. Everything is that comes from Americans. Nothing but propaganda comes out of their mouth. These species are full of BS every day of their life. There's not one mastermind recorded anywhere in the world in America that's got godlike power. There's 113 in Australia, not one in America. 113 in Australia, not one in America can master his mind and use 100% his brain. Even CIA documents were released 2 years ago on my platform where CIA identifies the people they found that can master their mind and use 100% of their brain, and not one is American, because they're all anti-clockwise in America, with the worst DNA, worst gene defects, worst mental disorders, and worst deception and lies, and live in their own mind, in their own truth worldwide, and especially people on screens, trapped into radio waves on a screen. Nothing organic about these species. They're called post-human since 1960, going transhuman upon zombie apocalypse, where they're losing all their magnetic pulse and think they're getting something at the same time. All their new age with pins and needles and dizzy spells and sun flares is losing their magnetic pulse and all their 27 biofields because they select the wrong grammar with artificial intelligence, with light power, energy, vibrations and frequencies like they used in the pyramid days and Babylon days, with methamphetamine magic potions, a barcode system, ADHD medication left and right, up and down barcode, the same drug that's infested today in all their food preservatives, drug delivery system, methamphetamine, ADHD medication, and the whole world's on it, as reported worldwide by Tony Abbott, the Prime Minister of Australia, that over 85% of the population worldwide is on methamphetamine and ADHD medication, and it's going through the roof with drug delivery system worldwide with electronic magnetic devices and vaccination, because graphene oxide comes from iodine crystal in all these products set up by the Rockefellers into the conscious singularity with WF. The biggest soul trap in human history by atheism and science that's got no idea what's going on. That's why they're all mentally insane and possessed by an outside influence with UAPs. And we know that because UAPs come to us. They watch us and watch over us. With the Holy Spirit comes to us. And they first came to us when we were children, selected when we were a child. Because the orbs of light came to me with UAPs when I was 5 years old. And no one believes in it. Well, they're all brain dead. How would they know? They weren't naturally selected with a divine intervention with UAPs. We have been throughout our life. And in 212 phenomenon, people were selected all over the world with UAPs, unexplained era phenomenons, and they went into death experience and death, clinically dead. And a massive transformation for 3.5 years with DNA studies done, and the evidence came out in 2016. And I sat down with the top scholars in the world with the study done. With these people that were selected from 212 and the transformation they were going through in their DNA to 2016. Natural selection, right? As Jeremy Cooper says, it's a natural selection. And he's the only one in the world telling the truth about natural selection. The only one in the world telling the truth. And he's the top biologist worldwide with 16,000 top scholars in the world with a cure of the human conditioning that's going to save humanity. The holy grail of life, DNA. Genetic process, genetic memory to wake up from amnesia and the reincarnation trap. With When I'm Breathing, who's won a Nobel Prize without a credential that recreates the sacred secretion that you need to conduct with the holy breath of life. With Jacob Slater, the Neuralink, the tree of life. That doesn't work in you anymore because you live in your mind, in mentality, in a personality, trapped. Trapped into mentality and can only 7 to 15% of your brain worldwide. So you can't master your own vessel and control your own mind like you see in the movie Limitless or Keanu Reeves' The Matrix. Those that think instinctively with you now bragging. So what does everyone do? Think with their consciousness and raise their consciousness with an IQ, with critical thinking. Think outside the mind and you can respond 7 times faster than you think with your sixth sense. That's why Bruce Lee can mastermind and fight 12 people back karate, blindfolded and block every punch, because when he's blindfolded, he uses sixth sense with deja vu to predict the future and prevent what's going to happen and block every punch. A child can mastermind a computer game between 3 and 7, and it's always perfect clockwise. So where does that come from? When you can do it 7 times faster than the owl. Look at YouTube, third-eye children superhuman. By the time they're 8 years old, they can read, draw, and write blindfolded. And by the time they're 12, they can predict the next car coming around the corner, what colour it is. So they can prevent what's going to happen. They can predict who's ringing on your phone, what they're wearing on the other end as well. Okay, and they start to ask deep and meaningful questions, so they discover the meaning of life like Christ did by 24, because they're living in their sixth sense with the universal language with sevenfold wisdom and knowledge. So children that doesn't go to school to be mentally institutionalized can use their sixth sense with all their godlike power and supernatural power, their sixth sense. And you're going to six magic things, you're stripping the sixth sense for the sixth time, and this doesn't work in you. You can see that with these kids. You cannot do what these kids can do. And you didn't teach your kids that neither. You put your kids in corruption, curse in their body cells, and lie to yourself. So does every one of your species worldwide. Live in a massive global delusional state, anti-clockwise, and you haven't got these abilities. And we can show you that with a kid on YouTube, that you cannot do this. You're mentally insane and delusional and in denial. The evidence is right in front of your face. You cannot use these tools. There's no spirituality in you. You live in mentality with grammar and artificial intelligence, and select that yourself in your own truth. Manifest your own truth and come to your own conclusion with reasoning, which is 5 sensory negative fears and nefarious. You live in a delusional state. There's no compassion in you. There's no loyalty, honor, respect, moral, inspiration, encouragement. You know why? Look at your own backyard with your own family, lovers, and friends. You got no codependent relationships, no soulmates. You sit in front of a screen, right, with fake tours, fake love, and fake friends, and fake BS, because you're all actors for someone else and do what you're told with mind control. And then you live in denial about it. So does everyone else. What are you so scared of? The truth setting you free? Yeah, you are. Stress controls the whole world. Anyone lies about it in a delusional state because they're not naturally selected. And when they're not naturally selected, right, they lie and entertain you with anything else because they can't deal with the truth. They all lie across the whole world and self-proclaimed prophets worldwide that has no divine intervention, no UAPs, and no miracles, and no records in their DNA to back it up. Nothing. Just a global delusional state with their opinions, and that's all. They live in their own opinions. And people mentally resonate with people with opinions because they're trapped in their opinions as well. Their opinions is all they live on, and everything that's program engineered into their mind and what they believe in with artificial intelligence and living imitation. They can't even deal with it. The Bible warned you be in a delusional state, and you all are. Okay, you all live in denial as well. Stress is the biggest killer in the world, and you all die prematurely from stress, and you're all riddled with parasites. And your body cells corrupts losing you in the daytime and can only be here 4 hours a night. Someone clockwise has no mental disorders, no DNA effects, and you're riddled with them in a massive global delusional state with unnatural selection and all the things you're into that you mentally resonate with your mind, mentality. That's why you're suffering, because you live in denial with voices in mind ultimately designed from extinction. Do it, don't do it. It's just a personality. So when you think critically and they give you 5 reasons why you shouldn't, you listen to your mind, right? In 1920, they can make 16% of people killed, 48% in 1945, 68% in 1968, 100% today. COVID vaccination mandates, 98.7% will take the vaccination. You will do as you're told. You just have a different inflection point and when you break. But you're controlled by greed, power, temptation, money, and materialism in every aspect of your life with modern technology, with modern gadgets, with images, and with radio waves, the principality and the power in the air that controls you. And you don't believe in that? Why have you become mentally seduced at school? How come you roll out of school at 18 years old and think your parents are dinosaurs and reject the 24th chromosome and your genetic process and think you're special? Then when the boogeyman comes to monster under the bed, you lie to your kids and say it's a dream, go back to sleep because you're possessed by it and you're not like Bruce Lee. That's why at 24 years old, look at the Royal Commission. been paying out for 23 years for kids getting taken off their parents, going home to get raped and bashed, and becomes prisoners and prostitutes later. Right? Becomes prisoners and prostitutes later. Paid out for 23 years and still paying out today. What do you learn about this? Huh? What do you learn about this? You learn that your cops, your politicians, okay, your prosecutors from court, your Christians, your pastors, preaching teachers the most, are the ones raping all your kids. The least expected person you ever think is raping your children is the one you trust the most. And you go to school to be engineered by these species, so you trust these species, these politicians and cops and teachers the most. So they're the ones raping your kids and the most lying with the most deception and lies in the world. You can see that in the Royal Commission paying out for 23 years. What kind of species rape your kids when they get taken off your parents, when your body starts going corrupt during the school, because you're perfect from 0 to 7, then you go to school to be institutionalized, and your body starts going corrupt during the daytime. Your say gets secretion and dies by 12 years old, so you can't use your sixth sense anymore. So therefore your third eye shuts down, and so does your neural link with Jacob's ladder to feel the truth. A child who's an innocent person, who knows the boogeyman, by the time you're 24, you're not like Bruce Lee, you can't feel the truth with your sixth sense anymore. But a child and a dog can. So when a stranger comes to the door, the same people that rape your kids, the least expected, maybe your uncle or your best friend for 30 years, that you'll never know. It could be a pastor or a teacher, and you'll trust that person the most, and he's the best liar in the world. Like politicians, that's always got a group of people around them, right, with a high IQ. And high IQ 125 plus, they're selected because they're brain deformity and got no moral guilt and shame and can't think instinctively. That's why they select people with high IQ, with brain deformity. So they select them as special liars because they've got no feelings, no moral, no guilt, no shame, in the biggest DNA study ever done. And DNA doesn't lie. We now know what these species are like. They live in massive global denial without moral guilt and shame, trapped in the highest IQ. And the highest IQ's got no moral guilt and shame. They only work with reasoning, nothing else, because they have faith in nothing else, especially their natural process. So in the biggest study ever done, right, with Jeremy Griffiths, when we tried to find the cure of human conditioning, I was at ground level for 10 years in prison where the most mental disorders are and where people come in on drugs, right, where they started doing DNA research when they found my DNA in 2008. I was at ground level for 10 years in the biggest study ever done. And when you live in prison, you see all the nefarious in child sex offenders and cops and politicians, and you see the studies done, they can't do cognitive programs and address their offending behavior, right, because they've got no care factor, no moral guilt and shame. They plead not guilty all the way to the bank, no matter what the evidence is. They're in complete denial, right? So they don't face their moral guilt and shame and understand the dominant victims and family members and friends, themselves and their victims, because they don't fucking care. They're not humans at all. And when you're in jail for 10 years and you realise that all these child sex offenders and all the gay society, right, have the same traits. You see, child sex offenders, 86% is male to male. And when you look at gay society, right, 85% of gay people always get convicted one way or the other for touching someone inappropriate and usually underage. So there's a very big similarity between gay people and child sex offenders. You know what that is? Child sex offenders, 85% is male to male, and gay society, 85% they get convicted for touching someone inappropriate is underage. So they're the same species. All gay society and atheists are the same species in DNA without moral guilt and shame. No matter what comes out of their fucking mouth, they can say what they like. Okay, they're trying to normalize all these agendas with all these gene defects and mental disorders going through the roof, but they've got no moral guilt and shame, and they don't know what the quantum mechanic of Indian people is in their biofields, because their 27 biofields don't work when they have 32 senses. They can't think dimensionally at all, and they've got no moral guilt and shame on the biggest study ever done. Okay, so you know what these species are like that controls the world without a care factor, and why they lie about DNA worldwide through natural selection, because they're not chosen. They're trapped so deep in the 23rd chromosome, evolved non-stop as said by the FDA. They're that deep from the 24th chromosome, they'll never get it back ever again. Because they're denial. A species in brain lock denial. You see, every single Westerner has this problem, like an atheist, right? Designed by atheists. They think they're God's given gift to mankind, like every actor on the screen. They think they're God's given gift to mankind in self-envy, self-pride, and so up themselves and trapped into judgmental competitive behavior, and that's all they got, these species, right? That's all they're good for, okay? They've got no compassion, no relationships, and no love at all, and no care factor. In their real life at home, They argue, debate, and divide with their own family, lovers, and friends because there's no intuitive, codependent relationships and codependent power because they haven't got any. They depend on every single thing else with light, power, energy, vibrations, and frequencies, and everything trapped in science and evolution mutation. That's why they mutate from generation to generation in New Age. They live in artificial intelligence with different gods, right? And there's the different gods with the UAPs that's got them all by the balls in a massive global delusion state in their own truth because they only believe in themselves, in their own truth and manifest their own truth and come to their own conclusion with reasoning. And they're designed specifically into that so the voice mind can control them. Nefarious, the boogeyman. So when they come out of school, they call their parents dinosaurs and then they lie to their children about the boogeyman because they're possessed by it. And by the time they're 24, these people from the Royal Commission can manipulate them and 10 seconds later at the door because they can't feel the truth like Bruce Lee blindfolded. So they don't follow their feelings anymore. Now they follow their mind. Yet a child can feel the truth with a vortex of information with 7-fold response to mastermind a computer game. So when a stranger comes to the door like these species that rape your kids and the ones you trust the most for the whole system, right? You trust these species the most that you go to school with, that you mentally resonate with in your consciousness, right? Developed in your mind, with mentality in your whole system, right? You don't follow your instincts to think instinctively outside the mind like a child does with their sixth sense and a dog, because they can feel the truth, okay? They can feel the truth when a stranger comes to the door. They can manipulate you in 10 seconds flat, and you can't feel the truth like Bruce Lee blindfolded with your sixth sense. So you get manipulated constantly every day by these species, and you love the same type of species that you are. That's why you immediately resonate with these idiots. But a child runs the corner because he can feel the truth and can't be manipulated. And when I come walking down the road in raggedy clothes, right, in raggedy clothes, your dog, your child comes running towards me in a heartbeat with red before over my mouth because they can feel the truth with their sixth sense. They can feel my aura and my sixth sense, and they know I'm living in my spirituality and not inside my mentality. So they take to me in a heartbeat with adrenaline. All dogs, all kids take to me like that. And people take to me like that and always have in real life. Not on a fucking screen. Not on social media platform with grammar. But in reality. Big difference between an actor on a screen and a mouthpiece trying to get your attention with grammar, right? And to delude you with grammar. But in real life, they're nothing like me. And they've never done nothing like me. And they've never been naturally selected with UAPs and the most powerful confirmation and miracles on earth. You'd want to be in my shoes when we are naturally selected with UAPs and we all got together, right, in this study. We know who we are. And no one listens to us. They listen to everybody else. Well, we're the only ones that teach resurrection, the elect, and tells you the truth worldwide. With DNA studies done with the Holy Breath of Life and the Holy Grail of Life, we are the only ones in the world. Every human being avoids this the most to go back in their primal state so they can go through natural selection and be selected with a divine intervention because we're designed to save humanity, to save their soul, not their mentality because they're possessed and live in denial. Every mental disorder in the world, every stress-related disease you die from is voltage, reliability, anti-clockwise, and your body cells can corrupt illusion during the daytime. One thing is your aura, your sixth sense, and that's what will save you by restoring it, by crossing over, by going through the rebirth and the crossover, because it's happening in DNA worldwide. And DNA shows you with a drug that the mind does not know what you're doing worldwide. You can see that in the movie Limits. None of these species know what they're doing. And they're jealous, spiteful, filthy, low-life cowards worldwide. All grammar, all talk, no action. And you have to be aware of this. Why is this not spoken about when the top scholars in the world knows? Why they're avoiding Jeremy Griffiths with natural selection the most? Why is every mouthpiece, right, and every actor on a screen, go look at their contents, they're credit thieves. The conscious singularity is a credit thief. Because every Westerner is a credit thief that lives off other information from other people, and he said, she said of the documents, because they're all credit thieves. They're all back to front on reverse psychology, okay, mentally, and only mentally resonate with things. But in real life, in their own DNA, they're anti-clockwise. No matter what comes out of their mouth. They can say what they're like in New Age. Not one human being on earth, until they went through We're Not Breathing and the book Freedom, has been able to use their natural process. Not one can use their natural selection. Because of that artificial, without natural selection, with what's going on in their mind and what they give consent to on a daily basis without even realizing it. They're oblivious to what's going on. They live in complete denial worldwide. 90% of people come here runs away. You know, I see the numbers go down, people just run away because they're gone, man, beyond the point of return. Majority have gone in the head, man. I'm telling you now, 95% of my followers never do the 40-day fast and never cross over with the right tools. They just come here and scroll on every day. You know, I have to block people nearly every day that's been here 2, 3, or 4 years, and all they do is come to watch videos. 95% only come to watch videos and just mentally resonate with me and knows there's something right, but they don't actually do nothing about crossing over. They all live in a comfort zone. Most of them that goes across through the 40-day test also go back. Just letting you know, most of them also go back. Just like I told you about my brother. And it's important you understand this. In 1989, on the 22nd of December, the Kempsey bus accident stopped Australia. Stopped the whole country. Biggest road accident in Australian history, kills 36 people. Over 50 people critically injured in Port Macquarie Hospital. It stopped the whole country. My brother was on the South bus, McCarthy's bus heading to South, okay, to go down to his wife's parents to spend Christmas, Kathy. She died on the bus. 20 people died on this bus. He was the most critically injured. He was in a ward under Dr. Wright in Brisbane, under his own ward on the top floor, and Dr. Wright was the first heart and lung transplant surgeon in the world that owns his own ward in the BA Hospital, and that's where Queensland Mental Health headquarters is as well. My brother was there for 3.5 weeks in a coma, got out of a coma, flatline. He flatlined for about half a minute to a minute. I wasn't there, it was in the morning. Then he came out of the coma and was in a ward next door, very critically injured. He couldn't remember the accident. He didn't know anyone in the bus. The doctor said, try to prolong telling him about his wife as long as you can, because he's still critically injured. Every minute counts in the condition he's in. So we didn't tell him about his wife, and he never asked. That was the ironic part. He seemed to be perfectly normal. Perfectly normal up here. The first day he went into the ward, he said goodbye to someone out of the blue. For about 30 seconds, he looks up and goes, yeah, okay. Thank you, John. Thank you, John. Bye, John. Then he looked back to us as if nothing happened, right? And we thought, hey, he's had a gug on the head. He's had a hit on the head. This is really odd. All of a sudden, he looks out of the blue, talks to someone in midair, right? And then looked back to us as if nothing happened and didn't say a word to us. We thought there's something wrong with him. He's had a hit on the head. He doesn't know what he's doing. So Dr. Wright himself and Queensland Mental Health came to watch over my brother as this happened 19 times over the next 10 days. And they were there in half of these events, so were we. So were we. The last one that came to say goodbye to my brother was Kathy, his wife. Kathy, his wife. The driver did not come. He was responsible for the accident. He was the only one that didn't come. The moment Kathy came, Dr. Wright and Queensland Mental Health came walking through the door with a confirmation that the other 18 people he said goodbye to was the first name of every person that died on this bus except for the driver, and there was only Kathy left to go. And right smack in that moment, a divine intervention took place and Kathy came, and you could feel it in the whole room, and it got everybody's attention in that moment, and we were all there. My mum and dad was there, my brothers were there, I was there, Dr. Wright and the psychiatrist, we were all there in that moment, just when they confirmed that 18 people he said goodbye to was the first name of every person that died on that bus except for the driver. And Kathy came right there in that moment with a divine intervention, and we could feel the shiver in her spine. And man, I'm telling you, it stopped the room. Dr. Wright and Queensland Mental Health Board put a massive article in the Queensland Courier Mail. On the 27th of January 1990, Kathy said to my brother, written in the paper as one of the biggest miracles ever recorded. Kathy said the driver went in the abyss. The other 18 were lost, getting one more final opportunity. You know, Christ woke up from amnesia 24 and said, I'm son of David, son of Abraham, with genetic memory and his genetic tools. Are you aware of that? With his ancestor tools. Like Nimrod resurrected into Osiris and then into the all-seeing eye of Horus. We know about reincarnation. Christ learnt reincarnation and life after life. And I don't have amnesia. I know who I am with my genetic memory. That goes all the way back for thousands of years because I have. It's not my fault that you can't use these tools and then you think I'm stupid when you are, and you call me a freak of nature and call me a mental species by every one of your filthy low-life animals worldwide. Disgusting, godless and moral creatures that's got no memory with amnesia. And you all call me crazy and mental. So does my parents. So does my family. So does every low-life scum in the world. Filthy low-life scum of the world. Godless and moral creatures living in their own truth with their own gods that never gave them the power. Never gave them divine power to command nature. Because they followed their own footsteps, right? That's why you got nothing. That's why you suffer stress, fear, and anxiety. And that's why you're going to six magic in the sixth sense for the sixth time. And the biggest killer today, right, is putting a shirt in the back, a roof over your head, and a meal on the table. You're controlled by stress and fear and live in denial worldwide in a massive global delusion state in your own truth. But God did not choose you with UAPs and divine intervention to command nature. He did with me like this. And he made all these things possible where my wife came back to life in 1992 with 7 peer reports and CCTV and harnessed the power, divine power, to bring her back to life. And then, right here, practically at the same moment, this happens. Kathy says they were getting one more final chance because they were lost, trapped in here with amnesia in a reincarnation trap, and getting one more final opportunity in 1990. One more final opportunity in 1990. Today, the end dates are 27 September 227, the new climate clock. 7-year countdown, 7-year lay. 2,000 years when Christ was baptized by John. 27 September 27. And it's not negotiable. They know, they saw it in the looking glass, they're going underground in military bunkers. You've got brand new nuclear warnings worldwide on your phones. NATO's telling you worldwide, get ready for 3 days, and it's warned in the fucking Bible. Like the days of light, when the orbs of light, stars within the stars, came from heaven to earth and put you in checkmate. You're warned about it in the Bible. The orbs of light coming all over earth, from heaven to earth, and putting you in checkmate. Putting you all in checkmate. Warned in the Bible, and you see it all over the earth. 2/27 end date of the inflection point of no return. Natural selection's taking place. And I can tell you right now, 99.9% of all Westerners are being selected by the fallen angels, by their own forefathers, because they haven't got any genetic memory. They have amnesia. They won't let them master their mind. Only God will give you the power to master your mind and use 100% of your brain with all your genetic memory. Your gods won't give you that, nor will your mental belief system neither. So it doesn't matter what comes out of your mouth. You cannot master your own mind, and God did not give you that gift, right, to use 100% of your brain with your genetic memory in DNA, the book of life. And DNA is solid evidence. My DNA is the most authentic DNA in the world, in the biggest study ever done in this process by the top scholars in the world. And I know that every human being on earth is a liar. Every single human being and every American is nothing but a low-life liar. Nothing but a self-centered, delusional parasite who lives in denial. And you listen to people that live in denial inside their mind and can only use 7% of their brain. You merely resonate with people's body cells that go in corruption illusion in the daytime because they're trapped in their mind. You don't follow the ones that are clockwise 24 hours a day that can master their mind without mental disorders and defects. You follow actors. You follow actors, not messengers. I'm sacrificing myself. That's blood. I'm choking, right, with cancer, blood clot, right, cancer clots all over my chest, right, throat cancer, and I never give up. I've had it for 3 years, and I'm bleeding every day, sacrificing everything in my life for you, because I'm not afraid of death, and it controls you, and you lie about it. You'll say you're not afraid of death, and you're full of BS. Your body cells don't lie. You're terrified of death. You're full of shit. You lie to yourself that much in a delusional state, and you're shit fucking scared in your body cells and corruption, coercion, collusion, and treasoning. And you put your kids in the same mindset, you fucking dog. You put your kids in the same mindset because you're in a delusional state and can't use your natural process. You can't use your supernatural power because you're not a spiritual person. You're a mental person. So it's every person you follow on the screen who's just an actor and a good mouthpiece with their opinions. Couldn't give a shit. Nobody cares. They got no feelings. Their aura's gone. Collapsed. With voltage reliability, the aura's collapsed. Their sixth senses collapsed. They cannot feel the truth with dimensional thinking, remote viewing, mental telepathy, ESP, deja vu to predict the future. They cannot use any of these tools. They live in a massive global delusion state and a massive illusion and imagination in their mind, because their mind's an illusion and imagination, and that's all they live by. Illusions and imaginations with false systems, and the placebo effect anti-clockwise in their body cells, going to corruption illusion during the daytime and can only be at nighttime, which means the mind does not know what it's doing. The solid evidence is right there. The mind and all your crap and all your engineering and all your grammar cannot cure you from the human conditioning. So when we cross you over to cure with your natural process, you have to understand you have amnesia. We put you in a 40-day fast to stop natural selection off screens and stop eating for 40 days. Take zinc, iron, magnesium, drink water, do wind up every single day and start to push that oxygen, the holy breath of life, back to its primal state. So you recreate the second secretion with a high ecstasy feeling, MDMA, meth effect, alert, alive, waking, we're back in the primal state with your genetic memory and a genetic process that resets your biological clock in your central nervous system and reactivates your molecules and genetic memories. Then you go through a transformation by reading or listening to the book Freedom by Jeremy Givers on audio. Then you go back in selections, natural selection. You cross over and you come right out of your vessel like you see in the movie Limits, and then you see the truth. Then you see the truth and you see the future and how perfect it is and how fauna nature is absolutely magnificent, and you see that clarification like X-ray vision and X-ray love, where everything is 10 times more unbelievable. And your placebo effect and your feelings is 10 times more powerful when you're in that ecstasy feeling with real love, the most powerful confirmation. And that's your natural primal meniscus, and that's your natural state that you don't have anymore. So when you go back in your mind, you realize what you're missing. Shows you how delusional you are, right? And what your real state is. When you live outside your mind, that's your real feelings. That's your reality in spirituality. 10 times more powerful than the reality you're trapped into. And you feel it and you see it and you have a clarification. When you go back in your vessel, you realize how dumb you are. And your mind's got no idea what you're doing because you don't have the same feelings and you don't have the same aura. So we take you right out of your shell, right through the fasting, where you go to the light and tunnel, as Plato describes in 15 books, and Jeremy describes. Then you feel the truth and see the truth like you never had before in your life. With a death experience, but it's only an experience. Where you come out of your vessel and realize your own personality, the voice that tells you do it, and don't do it, is from the tree of knowledge that possesses you and controls you, and you give them consent. And that's the first time you realize that. As you listen to We're Not Breathing, the book Freedom by Jeremy Givers on audio, and go through every rabbit hole to stick your head through the light in the tunnel, and then you break free. And then you can't go back, and you'll never go back. Then you go for a transformation for 3.5 years and continue to do We're Not Breathing to recreate the second secretion, the holy breath of life, that restores your biological system with DNA, the book of life, with your biofields and your biosenses, the biosphere that doesn't work with your sixth sense to think outside the mind, with a light bulb in you. The picture that tells you 1,000 words can lie to you, like you see in the movie Limits with sevenfold wisdom and knowledge. That'll come to you out of the blue. The picture that tells you 1,000, that show you 1,000 words that cannot lie to you. Dimensional thinking, remote viewing, deja vu is the picture that tells you 1,000 words with a normal light that cannot lie to you, and it doesn't lie to you. Every single thing else in the world does, and every human being does on the earth. They live in their own delusion state, in their own truth, and have no idea what they're missing out on. And they have no care factor because they lost all their feelings, because they lost their aura between 95 and 99% worldwide. Their aura only works 1 to 5% during the daytime. Only 1.3% aura works 100%, perfectly, clockwise. Only 1.3%. They're indigenous people, 500 years old, 10 feet tall. Shilla Mastermind's 257 birth certificate. They can harness the power. Mastermind Shihing, we're not breathing, in the biggest study of it done. And people off the grid, right? Street warriors off the grid that stands against the whole Babylonian beast and lifts off the grid. It's these people that are off the grid in a community environment that lives by the one year weekly to love one another, business, birds, and flesh. It's those people that lives by their natural process and by the natural selection of life, of the tree of life that has the most authentic DNA. It's not Westerners. They're artificial and they live with the tree of knowledge no matter what comes to their mouth. And they can't get away from it. They've got that many addictions and possessions. Every addiction that they have and everything they're into mentally is actually a possession. So they're possessed, which means every mental source and every single drug and every single book written has been declared reverse psychology with their opinions, and all their opinions are wrong because it's an outside influence that controls your reality with a voice mind that's been ultimately designed for extinction, a hostile entity that's nefarious because it's only a personality. And you believe in your own personality, your own mentality, trapped in your own mind with the personality. With personalities, they're nothing more than personalities. When you cross over, you take charge of yin and yang, and only use that as a mathematical beautiful work things out with 1 to 5%, and then you think instinctively 95 to 99% and control your vessel and never get confused ever again. Because now you're in charge of yourself. You're back in your primal state, back in your innocent, like a child, and you cross over. And when you cross over, it's a whole different way of thinking, and it's not what you think. It's an outside influence. It's a relationship with codependent feelings. Divine power to command nature. A God-given gift as such that you have such a biofield weapon so that no weapon formed against you can prosper. Those that think instinctively tune out of the program. Those that will not think instinctively will never tune out of the program. And if you take the likes of Tommy Truth, right? The likes of Tommy Truth and people like him, he's trapped so deep into himself, he has no idea what he's talking about. And Americans mentally resonate with the same type of species. Like Terrence Howard, who's completely mentally insane, and a high IQ robot with artificial intelligence. And then we have a dickhead like Billy Carson, full of BS, right, who follows his own forefathers' footsteps, right, which is the fallen angels. And he only lives on knowledge and book-smart education, but he can't think instinctively outside the mind. He hasn't got mental telepathy, ESP, remote viewing, telekinesis, or any spirituality with deja vu to predict any future. And his DNA, he's full of BS with DNA. He thinks he knows anything about DNA. He's another lying credit thief that gives disinformation when it's my DNA. My DNA leads this with the most authentic DNA in the world. So now every liar in the world, every American's a low-life liar and a self-proclaimed nutcase that only cares about themselves and their opinion. And because of their mentality and their opinion, they lie to everybody. The whole world's full of BS, and they can't deal with it. They did not get naturally selected with a divine intervention and divine power. They have it. We have. And you can have faith in us that we can bring you across and restore your biologies so you go through natural selection with a divine intervention yourself. Don't listen to social media and Americans the most, and anyone on screen is an actor. They're all full of BS, and they all prevent you from the truth. So does every scholar, scientist, and government in the world when they know. When you're sitting down for a 6.5-hour meeting with the top people in the world, you know how delusional and mental everyone is, because that's the biggest conversation they're having. How mentally insane the whole world really is, and they're not going to be naturally selected through natural selection in the mentality they live in. They live in a massive, global, delusional state declared worldwide with a voice of mind that controls them with UAPs, unexplained earth phenomena that they give consent to. The gods are back, the return of the gods. So is the watchers who watch over us with the Holy Spirit. Both at the same time. The Bible warns about it, and it's happening in DNA worldwide right now. Happening right now worldwide. and the mind doesn't know what you're doing, you're being distracted, and 99% is going to go in the abyss. Back in 1990, 95% of people failed. Kathy was the only one chosen in 1990. And what happened here? What did God develop in one of the most powerful miracles on earth with the Kempsey bus accident? He said 90% of people were lost getting one more final chance. Pastors and preachers all over the world lately, okay, we put up 5 videos recently where they died, clinically dead, and came back. And they're all saying the same thing after 20 or 34 years working in the church. They were sent back because they didn't have a relationship and getting one more final chance. And they were all told one very critical thing. They all said 98% are going in the abyss. That's why, right? That's why I shared every one of those videos on my timeline, on my pages. They all said when they were clinically dead and sent back with one more opportunity because they were too much into themselves and didn't have the relationship. Too much into themselves and self-envy, self-pride, into themselves and didn't have a relationship. They all said the same thing. Over 98% of people were going in the abyss. That's now. Funny that, because DNA shows 98.7% is involved in reliability anti-clockwise, with mental disorders and defects going through the roof and going in a 6 mass extinction, slipped than 6 cents for the 6th time, and can see in ovarian syndromes and mental disorders and defects going through the roof and turbocharge rates. And everyone lives in denial about it and think they're chosen mentally. But they haven't been selected with DNA. We know who has. Because they went through a massive transformation with a death or near-death experience because their personality died. And when their personality died, the first thing that happens is your family and your friends don't know who you are anymore. They can't recognize you. When you go through the transformation, you get away from your personality dies. You literally die. And then you go back to the primal state and wake up from amnesia and the reincarnation trap. And then you're totally different. And your family and friends don't know who you are anymore because you're not the same person. Because the person you were died. And when you died, people don't like you anymore because you're different and they don't know what to think. They think you're crazy. They think you're someone else. They don't even know how to take you. That's what happens when you cross over through a rebirth. Nobody wants to know you. Nobody wants to know you. Everybody knows that a genuine reborn person that's crossed over always divides with everyone around them and has to walk away from the church and go off the grid. It's a known fact. It's a known fact. When people are naturally selected, they have to get away from everybody else around them because they run them into the ground, destroy them. Out of jealous, spiteful, egotistical behavior, and they're all mental species trapped in their mind and can only 10% of their brain. When you cross over back into spirituality, you know everybody else is insane and all trapped in here and do not know what they do, like Christ said. You know that for a fact because you didn't know yourself until you went through the inflection point and through a massive transformation yourself. Then you didn't know yourself until that moment. You had no idea what you were doing in here. And the drug proves in the movie Limits. You have no idea what you're doing in there. No idea at all. You don't know what you're missing out on. That's why when people cross over and their personality dies and their mentality dies and they become someone else that they never knew existed, it's a hell of a liberation. And DNA doesn't lie. DNA is a book of life. They start to preserve DNA and genetic repair kit, and it all goes clockwise. So when they cross over for rebirth, they're saved and go through another way of thinking outside the mind and preserve DNA. And that natural selection has been taking place since 1960. And as they say worldwide in the oldest Bible say in the world, we're going to live to be 1,000 years old again. Okay, and there's no more heaven and hell. So where's everyone going? Since we created heaven and earth. And Christ learned reincarnation, life after life, and said, I'm son of David, son of Abraham. And he said in the end times, we're all going to create heaven and earth and go into his image with 10 times more fruit and 10 times more nutritious value. And we'll have the right fruit to do every single thing that he can to live with the tree of life and stop living with the tree of knowledge for 1,000 years in a new era, in a new timeline of sevenfold wisdom knowledge you see in the movie Limitless. A broad six of information that I have more faith in than any human being on earth. because I know the truth that will set you free. That's why we teach the resurrection with the right tools and the correct results. Look at our platforms with our testimonies from our followers that's going through this, back in their innocence. And if you look at their videos before and after, you realize they're not the same people. They've gone through a massive transformation and are completely different. That's what you observe about these people going through this, that they're totally different and they change completely back into their innocent. And they're saved. And once they're saved, they go through a transformation and never suffer the consequences or from a death experience ever again, because they're free. They find that liberation that nobody else has, because they're trapped in the skull beyond the point of return of majority. Do not know what they do in denial. And that's why we teach people to cross over and save their soul from their own mentality and their own personality, so they can wake up from amnesia and start using their natural process with a natural selection and a natural order in life, because this is a natural selection. This is a natural selection happening worldwide in DNA, the natural selection, as Jeremy Gibbs says. They have the evidence, buddy, and the people been chosen all over the world are the last people that you expect, because the people that you choose are not the ones chosen. I can promise you that.